Hello, everyone. I hope that y'all are doing well today. Today, we are going to be talking a little bit about technology, specifically some adaptive technology, but then also some other technology options for stroke survivors. So the first thing we're just going to talk about is this idea of what are the different types of technology. So there are a lot of different kinds of technology today. These things include adaptive equipment, mobile applications, websites and the internet, television, video conferencing platforms, and transportation. And all of these different types of technology are obviously not an exhaustive list, but these are the things that we're going to be addressing today.
So like Elise just mentioned, we are going to specifically focus on assistive technology. And before I show you the definition that comes from the World Health Organization, I want to turn this question to you. So if I could have one person either raise their hand or unmute and tell me what assistive technology is, or something, the definition or your description of what you guys have learned so far. So the definition of assistive technology from the World Health Organization is technology that is used with the purpose to maintain or improve an individual's functioning and independence to facilitate participation and to enhance overall well-being.
So the second question we want to ask is how assistive technology can help us with our clients. So technology obviously can help us do the things that we want to do or have an obligation to do, such as cooking, driving, interacting with people, working, schoolwork, or even things like walking or using our arms and legs, or even talking.
And so as OTs or future OTs, we can do multiple interventions related to assistive technology. So here are some of the things that AOTA sort of states that OTs can do with assistive technology. So one thing that OTs do is that we would be looking at someone's skills, the activity they want to do, and the context that they are doing the activity in order to decide what technology can really be the most beneficial for what they want to do and where they're going to do it. We can also modify the technology itself or the way someone is using that technology in order to support or enhance their performance. We can also do some education, whether it's the client themselves or their family caregivers or just anyone that's really prominent in their life on how to use specific assistive technology. And then we can also advocate for our clients to be provided with assistive technology.
So there are a lot of accessibility and phone adaptations that are already available on everyone's phone. So it's important for us to know these because smartphones are becoming so widespread and so common, but they might have some challenges for individuals after stroke with using it. So there are several accessibility options that are included in your phone that can make your clients have an easier time using the device. And we'll go over just a few on this slide. So there are adaptations for vision. So there's a zoom magnifier on the iPhone, and this can be used to make images and words larger and to make them easier to see. And so you can just go into settings and turn this on their phone so they would be able to zoom in on anything they wanted to. There's also an option for text size where you can increase the size of the text to make it easier to see and read. So this is a great adaptation if your clients are experiencing some challenges with vision after a stroke. And then there's also audio descriptions, which can be used if they're having challenges reading or seeing, and they can click on whatever's on their screen and it will tell them aloud what's going on their screen, so they don't have to actually read it. So in addition to these vision adaptations, there's also adaptations for physical and motor control. As you can see on the picture on the bottom, there's the one-handed keyboard. So this moves the keyboard to one side of the screen, which makes it easier if you're only using one-handed type on your phone. And it also reduces how far the client would have to stretch their one hand. This is a great adaptation if they have some single-sided weakness. So if they're using just one side of their body to use their phone. And we actually gave this presentation to stroke survivors, and we had an individual tell us that this was going to be a huge thing for her and she was going to be able to type a lot easier. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. So we also have the voice to text option, which some of you may actually already be using because it's great for everyone. So this is on many of our devices already, and it allows you to type the words. So you tap the microphone button in your keyboard and just say what you want to write, and your iPhone will convert it to the numbers and characters and into a text. So it's easy to type an email, notes, or web addresses without typing at all. And you can also hit the audio button on the right side of your message bubble where you can say a message and send it as a voice file rather than words. So there's also touch accommodations and assistive touch on the iPhone. So with touch accommodations, you can adjust how the screen responds to your touch and control how long you touch the screen before it recognizes it. And if there's repeated touches, you can change the settings so that it ignores it. So you could put your finger anywhere on the screen and move an item you want without mistakenly performing an action. So this is great for someone who doesn't have great motor control. If they're likely to continue to tap the screen or move too quickly, you can change that setting and it will help them with that. And then also another great thing they have is switch control of an iPhone. So I know many of you have probably seen the big switches that are the large buttons. So it's an accessibility technology for anyone with extensive physical motor limitations. And the switch control allows them to navigate sequentially through the on-screen items to perform specific actions using a variety of Bluetooth-enabled switch hardware. And this is something that you would really work with your clients with one-on-one to try and navigate this since it is so new. So all of these features can be controlled through the settings on the iPhone and also on many Android devices. And the exact steps will be dependent upon the type of device that the client has. So you would have to go through what kind of phone they have and try and look into how to change that on their phone based on their specific needs. As we know, there's also accessibility and computer adaptations. So for vision, these things that are already offered on your computer and things that you can change in your settings that you wouldn't actually have to buy. So there's the narrator on Windows systems, which reads typed characters. And Windows has long offered a screen reader and text-to-speech feature, which is called Narrator. The tool can read web pages, text documents, and other files aloud, as well as speak every action you take in Windows. So as you move your mouse around, it will tell you what you're clicking on and where you're on your screen. So if they're having trouble with vision, this is a great way to help them. And there's also the screen magnifier. I'm sure many of you have already seen it, but you can buy physical magnifiers that clip to the front of a computer screen. But it's also available through both Windows and Mac operating systems where you can change it in the settings and it will zoom in based on what they want to see. And then there's also different adaptive mouse options. So you can have the mouse be large and animated and high contrast, and it can also provide auditory feedback when moved. So when you move it on the screen, it can tell you where you've moved it and what you're about to click on. There are a lot of different adaptations for physical and motor control, and these are things that are going to be physical devices that you would have to purchase and recommend to the client because they won't come with the device that they already have. So I'm sure many of you have seen these through MD Tap. I know that the BSMS students have gone there. I'm not sure about everyone else, but if you ever want to use these devices and try them out with a client, you can go through them to borrow these devices. But the first just being an adapted keyboard. So as you can see in the picture below, there is the large key keyboard. So the keys are a lot larger, so they're able to see it and they're bolded. And then the contrast also helps with vision-related challenges. And then there's also a lot of different one-handed keyboard options. So it's where they put all the keys on one side and they are arranged so that it's easier if you're just using one hand to type. And there's also this adaptive mouse, as you can see in the picture. So this is the Kensington Expert Mouse Trackball, and it's a large gliding ball with 4 easy-to-click buttons, which allows users with minimal hand function to perform various functions. And there's a lot of different other options for mouses that you could use with your clients as well, based on their skills and needs. And then there's also just the voice-to-text option. So this one is already included in your computer, so you can use speech-to-text on Microsoft Word through the dictate feature. And with Microsoft Word's dictate feature, you can write using your microphone and your own voice. So you would just have to say things like a new line to create a new paragraph. You can add punctuation by simply saying it aloud. And this would really help clients who don't have that motor control to type physically on a keyboard.
So just another option for voice to text, similar to the program that Mackenzie just talked about, there is actually a voice to text option for Google Docs. However, it only works when you're using Google Chrome as your browser. So to access this feature, you go ahead and create your document and go to the Tools menu, and you would select voice typing. Then a microphone will pop up on the side, and then your client would click the Click to Speak button. The individual will just start speaking what they want to be typed. And so to put punctuation, you could say things like exclamation point or question mark. And then similar to the dictate feature, to start a new paragraph, you would say new line. You might recommend this to people who are having challenges with fine motor coordination or issues with their vision. So this can be helpful for anyone that has a job that requires them to do a lot of typed work. So maybe someone with an office job, or for those who need to communicate through email. Or if you have a client that's a student, you could have them use this feature so that they can be able to complete their assignments.
So adaptations for leisure, we all know that vision and physical and motor control are areas of difficulty for stroke survivors. So for vision, there are things like tape recorders or audiobooks that clients can use to understand text or even still be able to read and listen to audiobooks and still be able to participate in some leisure activities. Another thing would be like a text magnifier, and you can see that in the picture down below on the right. This is super, super helpful, especially because many stroke survivors need to find new leisure activities or find new occupations to participate in. And reading is an occupation that many people like to participate in. So being able to have these text magnifiers can be really, really helpful. And this is only one example of a text magnifier that you see pictured below. There are actually a lot of different options. And if you looked them up online, you'd see a lot of different shapes, a lot of different sizes. Some of them come with built-in lights, some of them don't. So you would really want to help your client explore their options and figure out what would fit them the best. And then lastly, for vision, there are also devices that help to convert text to speech. So just like there are devices that help convert your speech into different text, there are also devices that are able to read what is on a screen or on a page and then speak that to the person so that they don't have to use vision in order to read or be able to understand something. For adaptations for physical and motor control, one of the really big things today is voice-controlled TV remotes. So many TV remotes actually already have this built in. You can see below in the picture of the remote, there's a microphone button at the top. And when you click on that button, you would basically speak into the microphone and then the TV would do what you ask it to do. This can be really, really helpful for watching different shows, going on Netflix, and especially if people have smart TVs, most people would have this adaptation already built in, even if they didn't know that it existed. The only other thing we have listed here would be adaptations for the leisure activity of playing with cards. Obviously, there are many other adaptations for many different other leisure activities, but we just don't have the time to go into them today. So for playing cards, there are electronic card shufflers, and basically you take the deck of cards and you split it in half, and one half goes on each side, and you press a button and it automatically shuffles your cards for you. And then secondly are card holders or card racks, and these can be really helpful, especially for games where you might have to hold a big hand of cards and it might be difficult. That actually requires a lot of endurance and a lot of coordination to be able to hold that many cards for an extended period of time. And so these card holders and racks can be really helpful for people who still want to participate in this activity but might have challenges with holding on to things.
So in addition to those, I have two more here to show you. And so in general, there are tons of adapted sporting equipment out there. The one that I'll show you guys today is specifically for golfing, and it's called the Quantum Glove Grip. And this was actually designed by an individual who suffered from a spinal cord injury and found that the adaptive equipment for golfing that was out there was not working for him. And so the way this works is actually pretty simple in that it uses Velcro. And so that black handle that you see is attached to the golf club. And then there is a special Velcro that is then placed on that handle. Then there's the matching part of the Velcro on the glove that makes holding onto the club easier and allows for a more secure grip on the club. So this is great for people who have decreased grip strength, dexterity, and just trouble with grasping objects. Next, we have the adapted gardening tools. And this specific ones pictured on the slide are great for people who are experiencing joint pain or have decreased grip and grip strength and even low vision, because the bright colors make it easier for people with low vision to find the tools while they're gardening. And so the handles provide a better design that allows for people with those issues to grasp the tools easier. And then if you see there, there's also an extender cuff, and the extender cuff and those tools are actually separate, but they can be used together as shown in that first picture there. And again, there are tons of adapted leisure options for your clients that are out there. It's just important to figure out what your client specifically wants to do.
So we're going to move into some adaptations for transportation. And this is really an important one to pay attention to, because many people, after they have a stroke, find it very difficult to get around, especially if they were independent before they had a stroke. So first, we're just going to talk about actual adaptations that people can have and use within their car. And then we will also talk about some adaptations if people, for some reason, cannot drive independently anymore. The first thing that we have listed here is a seatbelt grabber, and you can see this pictured in the top right of the screen. And basically, this just helps if somebody's range of motion for some reason, or they have difficulty with muscle strength, if that's been compromised in any way, shape, or form. This seatbelt grabber makes it a little bit easier to reach behind and grab the seatbelt to be able to click it into the belt. The second option we'll see on the top left here are flipped pedals. So if somebody for some reason has had a stroke that has affected the left side of their brain, which would in turn affect the right side of their body and their motor control there, they might find it difficult to drive with their right foot. And so flipping the gas pedal actually to the left side so that they can drive with their left foot is an adaptation that many cars are built for in case people need it. The third thing we have listed would be on the bottom right in the pictures, and this is a steering aid. So what you see pictured is not the only option for steering aids. There are actually a lot of different options available because many people find that they need different things, or they need a different angle, or they need something attached to their steering wheel differently. And so there are many options for people to use. This one is a knob where somebody would hold onto it and they would be able to steer using one hand a lot more easily. They're not necessarily needing to grip something in that power grasp that they would need to grip the steering wheel in. So this is something that you would want to talk to your client about and figure out what would best fit them. And then lastly is on the bottom left is just one example of hand controls for a car. Again, there are many different ways that this can be achieved in a car, but basically if somebody has lost control of being able to use their lower extremities for whatever reason, they can use these hand controls to be able to drive instead and still be able to get places independently. So one thing to remember is that if a client does want one of these adaptations, or if they think it would be helpful, they have to see an OT and have a driver assessment done in order to do it, because they have to be approved by the MVA. And sometimes these actually do require a person to take the driver's test again with these accommodations to ensure that they can be safe on the road. So that's just something to keep in mind as you recommend these to your clients, to make sure that they're aware of everything that would be required in order for them to have one of these. So if for some reason a client cannot get around independently using their car or their truck or whatever it is that they typically drive, there are other options where they can still have transportation and be able to get around the community and still be able to do the things that they want to do that would be outside of their home. The first option would be things like transportation apps, and I'm sure that many of you have heard of these. Uber and Lyft are just two options, but there are many options out there. These things do come with a cost, as many of you guys might know, but they can be very helpful if people just need to get around or they need a ride. And then a second option would be car services like taxis, public buses, or shuttles. In Baltimore County, there are specifically a few that are like specific to Baltimore County that many people use to get around and to get places, and they're usually more cost effective than using those transportation apps. And we're going to talk about one of them, but it's important to educate yourself on what's available in whatever city or town you might be living in, so that you can recommend these things to your clients if they're unable to get around independently.
So, like Elise said, it is very common for individuals after stroke to have difficulty driving, or maybe even have themselves be deemed unsafe to drive. So there are many options that we can recommend to them. And like she said, there's many different transportation apps, but Uber does have many different adaptations that many of you may not know about. So there is an Uber Assist, which is door-to-door assistance for those who require additional assistance. And this includes accommodations for folding wheelchairs, walkers, and scooters. And with this, the drivers are trained to assist with transfers from wheelchair to car or with any other mobility challenges. So this is great for clients who do need a little bit more assistance and maybe aren't able to independently get to a bus or the car. You can go through with your client how to do this. So it's in the Uber app, and you click the access option at the bottom of the screen and tap the assist button and set your location and request the ride. So the other option for our client is Uber WAV. So this is rides for individuals using non-folding motorized wheelchairs. And these cars do have ramps and lifts to help the client. And this is great for our clients that have extensive motor deficits, and it will still allow them to navigate the community. So it is a really great resource. So how you use it, you'll just open the Uber app and you'll do the same thing you would typically do, putting in your destination. And then you would slide through the vehicle options until you reach the More section and select WAV and tap to confirm. So this is something that you can really educate your clients on so that they could still be independent with community mobility and getting to where they want to go.
So the last thing that we would like to talk about is the Baltimore County ride option. And obviously this is not going to be available if you're in a different county or in a different state, but many states and counties do offer things similar to this. And so like I was saying earlier, it is really important to look up what is available in the community. So specifically for Baltimore County, this county ride system operates from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. every single day. And they have many adaptations that are helpful for people who have mobility challenges. So these adaptations include things like low step entrances or lifts or ramps for wheelchairs. Many people can have an escort who actually rides with them for no additional cost. And then these buses and cars are pretty easy to identify. And so it makes it simple for somebody who has mobility challenges to know who is coming to pick them up, which is something that Uber and Lyft does not usually have because people will use their personal cars for those instead of state or county given cars. In order to be eligible for the county ride option, there are a few different ways that you can be eligible. So you either have to be 60 or greater years of age, a person with a disability aged 18 to 59 years of age, and then there's also an option for being a rural resident of Baltimore County. So the cost of county ride for a one-way would be $2.50 a ticket or $15 for a book, which is 6 tickets. And that's specifically for people who are like members of the county ride system. And then if you're not a member of the county ride system, a one-way ticket is $3 a ride if you're going somewhere within the county and $6 per ride if you're going somewhere out of the county.
So now we're going to move on to assistive technology that can really help with just everyday activities and everyday life. So we're going to first start off with high-tech options. And so what I want to talk about are smart home technologies. And so there are tons out there, but I'm going to focus on the ones on this slide here. So one thing that can be helpful for people with hearing issues are colored notification lights. And these are lights that can be set to use a series of colors to alert the individual to different scenarios. So for example, someone could set the lights to blink blue when your laundry is done or blink green when someone specific comes home. And these can range from around $30 to $200. It really just depends on what system you buy. For people with vision problems, there are things like the Amazon Echo Dot, Google Home, and other home systems. And these will help people who have visual problems because they can just use their voice as voice commands in order to access information or control systems throughout the home. And it's going to be especially helpful when integrated with other devices throughout the home, such as the lights or the thermostat. Some smart home technology for people with cognitive challenges. One is called Lively Home, and this is a system where family members can monitor their family member remotely. And so the way this works is that there are sensors placed throughout the home where someone's routines take place. So for example, you might place a sensor in the kitchen where someone might store their medications, or also they're going to eat in the kitchen. And the sensors then send that information to a hub, and that hub then sends that information to the website where the families can access that information. And so Lively Home will send notifications to the family if there is unsafe activity. For example, if there's low activity in the kitchen or near the refrigerator, that might indicate that the individual is not eating. Another assistive technology that might be helpful are key finders. And so there are multiple brands, but you probably have heard of these. But the way it works is that the device is attached to the keys, and then it's connected to a smartphone, and it just helps the person keep track of their keys and where they place it. For mobility challenges, you can consider door lock and security systems. So individuals can lock and unlock doors using their smartphone. In addition to mobility challenges, it can also be helpful for people with fine motor issues if they don't have the strength or coordination to turn a door handle, and smart home technology is something that they want to consider. And then there's also something called the Sesame Enable Phone app, which I'll talk about in depth later. And so overall, in addition to these smart home technologies, all of these may also even be useful for people who are having low endurance or low energy levels. So some applications that might be helpful depending on your client is the Notability app. So this can be helpful for people who have trouble with memory or fine motor challenges, and they can write down notes and appointments or other things that they need to keep track of. But it's also really helpful because you can record audio and put it within your notes. So this might be particularly helpful for people who are going to school. There's also an app called Polyvision, which helps those with visual impairments understand their surroundings by recognizing objects and telling them what it is. So if there is a chair in front of that person, the app will recognize that it's a chair and speak the word chair so that the individual knows that that is what is in front of them. And then lastly, there's something called Tapgram, which is an application for those with communication challenges, particularly expressive language. And so it provides messages that a person can send about feelings, places, and people to their friends and family through the app. So for example, with places, one can select movies, and the app will generate sentences such as, I went to the movies, or I want to go to the movies. And the app can be customizable, but not as much as actual augmentative communicative devices. And so going back to the Sesame Enable app, this is how the app would work on a phone. And so the graphic explains how the app calibrates the head movements to understand first how that individual moves. And then after the app is calibrated, it then is set to recognize the unique movements of that person so that they can go ahead and use the phone. So the way it works is that head movements will mirror typical touch movements. So for example, gesturing the head to the right indicates that the person would like to swipe right on the phone. There's also a keyboard app which works in the same way, and the client uses their head movements to type. And this is available for Android users and for Windows users. So currently, this app is not available for iPhones in the US at least. It might be available in other countries, because when I went ahead and tried to actually download the app, it said it wasn't available in the US. But I do believe the programs for Windows and for the Android phone are available in the US. And then some low-tech options. There are so many out there, and for those of you that have been to MDTAP, you've seen so many. So I will only list a few and not really go too in depth on them. So first we have the one-hand button aid, which are going to be helpful for people who need to put on or take off button shirts. Then there is also a zipper pull, which you would just attach to the zipper, like as you can see in the picture. And then it just makes it easier for people who have troubles with fine motor coordination and manipulation to pull up zippers on their clothing. Then you have a mechanical jar opener. Again, this is helpful for people who may have weakness in their hands or that they have difficulty just grasping onto objects. We also have a plate guard shown here, and this is helpful for those who have use of only one hand or even decreased fine motor coordination, and helps increase independence in eating. And then we also have here the toilet tissue aid, which is helpful for those with poor range of motion or pain at the shoulder. And it can also be helpful for people with poor fine motor coordination. This might be needed to grasp the toilet paper. And then in general, any durable medical equipment can be helpful for people who have had stroke. And then also you may want to think about how these things can actually be made if they can't be purchased. So I know for those who are BSMS students, you got the opportunity to make your own one-hand button aid using splinting material. So just really thinking about how you can be creative, especially with the low-tech options.
So there are many different adaptations that we can recommend to our clients for eating and meal times, and this is a very important occupation that we typically focus on with our clients. So today we're just going to go over 4 that are commonly used after stroke, but this is in no way an exhaustive list, and you should definitely look into other options that are available to our clients. So the first being a rocking knife, and we can use this with clients who are unable to use a fork and a knife at the same time to cut their food. And this really allows the user to easily cut their food using one hand. So this is great for clients who only have function in one hand to just sort of increase that independence during meal times. So the next is the foam padded utensil grip, which you can see on the right there. So this foam tubing provides a wider grip for greater control and a more secure grip on everyday objects. So the non-slip foam stays securely in place on the tool or utensil and doesn't easily slide from the hand. And the foam is easily washed by hand or in the dishwasher, and it really can be added to any utensil for meal times. It's great for a variety of different occupations in addition to eating. And then also there's the universal cuff. So this is a leather cuff that fits around the palm of the user's hand and is secured with an elastic strap. And this assisted device is designed to provide users with limited grip strength and dexterity more control with utensils and writing tools. So you can change out the utensils that you're using with that universal cuff, and you can use like a spoon, a fork, whatever you need for meal times. And then also you can use that for other occupations throughout the day. So this is great for clients who have limited hand strength and endurance in that hand. And then lastly, you can see here are the angled utensils. So this is great for people with limited upper extremity range of motion. So they can use the angled eating utensil to compensate for the lack of range of motion. And the angled utensils are especially useful for people with limited supination. So really we have to look at what deficits our clients are experiencing and try and find assistive technology that would work for them and their occupations that they want to complete.
And then next, I'd just like to quickly orient you guys to an app that's called Change for Life, Smart Recipes. It's also available as a website if the person doesn't want to use their phone, but it's essentially an app that provides healthy recipes and easy to follow recipes. And so what's really cool is that, you pick which meal you want to have, it shows you the recipes. Within the recipes, it also shows you the nutrition information, which is especially important. And then the individual can go ahead and add that recipe to their shopping list so that the next time they go out, they can have a list of all the ingredients that they need.
So the last thing that we're going to talk about is the things that are available for social interaction. And this is especially important, especially right now because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Many people are feeling pretty isolated and they don't feel like they're able to have as many social interaction options. And so it's really important to know what is available so that clients can still have that really important and needed social interaction with the people in their life that they love and care about. So we're going to talk through some mobile applications and also some computer or laptop options. And you will see a lot of similarities here because many of these websites have created apps to make it a little bit more accessible and easier to use when you're out and about. For mobile applications, there are social media apps such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Marco Polo, Snapchat, and FaceTime. And even I think Skype, Zoom, and Google Hangouts all do have apps, but they are used a little bit less on the phone than the first 6 that are listed here. And then the last thing that would be a mobile application sometimes are interactive video games. And these things are really, really cool because you're able to interact with people who you typically wouldn't know, or maybe you've become friends with by meeting them over this video game, and you can do things together and enjoy hanging out with one another. So I'm guessing that most of you have probably heard of these applications or used them before. But if you do have any questions afterwards about any of these, we're happy to answer any questions that you might have. And then lastly, on the computer and laptop, there are, again, Facebook, Twitter, Google Hangouts or Hangouts Meet, Zoom, Skype, FaceTime, interactive video games, and then there are also online support groups, both through the American Stroke Association, and then Towson actually offers some online support groups as well. So again, it's just important to know what's available in the community for your clients and think about what would be the most helpful for them or what it is that they would want to do, and point them towards these applications or websites that would be the most helpful for what it is that they're wanting to do or who they're wanting to interact with. So we are going to talk about Google Hangouts Meet because of all of the options there. This is probably one that you have used the least. Google Hangouts Meet is very, very similar to Skype or Zoom. It's basically a video meeting software that allows you to hold group meetings in real time with a large number of people. So it does have a few less features on it than Zoom does. Everything that is vital is still there. The first thing is share screen features. So obviously you all are probably very familiar with this now that we've been doing everything online, basically just able to share whatever it is that's on your screen. The second thing it has is a whiteboard. And this is basically something that allows everybody to like draw or paste images or whatever together and like have this interactive thing going on. The third thing that there is closed captioning, and this is actually something that Zoom does not have. So basically the Google Hangouts will listen to what is being said, and it will in real time translate those captions into words so that people who have hearing issues can still be able to participate and see what's at the bottom of the screen. Obviously, this is not a perfect system, as not everybody enunciates perfectly all the time, and the computer won't always pick it up, but it's definitely more helpful than not having it at all. And then lastly, of course, there is real-time chatting, which all of these video softwares do have, so that people who, for some reason, either their microphones don't work or they can't speak, are still able to participate socially with other people.
And then lastly, we will be talking about something that's not necessarily specific assistive technology, but like Elise mentioned, social participation is incredibly important for anyone, but also for stroke survivors. And especially in the era of COVID, we need to be able to provide our clients with virtual options. So there may be options for online support groups. You just have to figure out what is available in the area where the client lives. So the American Stroke Association has a support group finder on their website, and all the client needs to do is put in their zip code and a list of support groups that are nearby will come up. The Towson University Institute for Wellbeing also is currently offering virtual support groups. There is one for stroke survivors and one for caregivers of stroke survivors. And these are actually run by OT students and faculty, and they are free for people to join. So this concludes our presentation, and we will now open it up for any questions that anyone may have.